Wolfland here, bringing you another nerdy video. Sorry about that. I had to make sure that my laptop was both broadcasting and recording, considering the issues I had earlier. I had two drinks, one being a nice cup of tea, and the other being some Coca-Cola. Well, technically it's Pepsi Max, but either way. Okay, welcome to part 2 of my coverage of Zendikar Plane Shift. Now, this second part is about the creatures of Zendikar, not the inhabitants, not the plane itself, but the creatures that occupy it. First off, we'll be discussing the angels of Zendikar. Now, angels, we know, are the servants of the gods. They are celestial. They generally try and do good and so forth. Now, they're slightly different on Zendikar. The angels of Zendikar are living manifestations of white mana, and they embody an inherent tendency towards morality and order, peace and harmony, and their goals, though they are more concerned with re-establishing the natural order of the plane than with interfering with the disputes between the lowly mortal races. Angels appear similar to female humans, possessing 4 or 6 feathered wings. Their eyes glow with an inner light and the glowing rings around their heads, usually positioned to cover their eyes. So the halo is not over their heads, it covers their eyes. The Zendikar people consider the angels to be aloof but benevolent. Their resistance to the Eldrizi broods in the ancient past is vaguely remembered in the myths of the human core and merfolk. Humans in particular venerate the angels as divine protectors because of those myths. And it's suggested that you use the Deva stat block in the monster manual. For unique or more powerful angels, you can use the Plantar or Solar instead. Perhaps Livonia is the Planetar and Iona is the Solar. Them being actual named angels in the planet Zendikar. Oh, come on, Pop. My dog wants my attention. Oh, look, here he is. Here he is. Oh, yes, yes, yes. You can't lick my face, can't you now? You can't lick my face, huh? What am I wearing? What's on my head? What's on my face? Yeah, you don't know, don't you? You don't know what's on my face. But okay. Next up, we have the Griffins. Okay. Less intelligent and less magical than Fieldars, Griffins share those great cat's noble nature, and in alignment with the principles of white mana. Larger griffin species are about the size of horses and can be ridden. Indeed, such griffins are often used such griffins. Hey, no, stop that. Sorry, folks. Give me a sec while I do what these are. Stop it. The cornies are being good. Stop it. And it can be ridden. Indeed, such griffins are often the only reliable means of reaching certain remote locations, particularly in Akum. Smaller griffins range from the size of donkeys to larger dogs and are trained to carry messages, supplies without a rider. Zendikar griffins are much like the D&D's griffins, aside from the spelling and hippogriffs. So you use either a hippogriff or an actual griffin from the monster manual. Now, here's an interesting one. Archons. Like angels, Archons are incarnations of white mana. They serve the archangels as embodiments of white mana's harsher aspects, a rigid sense of justice and ruthless execution of punishment for those who defy the law. The appearance of Archons is deceptive. They look like hooded humans riding winged lions, but they are a single creature with just one mind and will. An Archon's game statistic are nearly identical to those of a Diva. And then they have a specific one, an Archon of Redemption. So yeah, so for the ones, The bestiaries of these plane shifts often tell you to go check out the monster manual, but they'll tell you what creature to use. But they do, in some cases, have very unique stat blocks. For example, the Philidars are an example. Standing fully 10 feet high at the shoulder, the great cats called Philidars are noble fierce beasts charged with white mana. Philidars consent to be ridden only by knights they consider virtuous. The crystalline horns rising from the head plate on their foreheads glow with a white or golden light when they spring into battle, sometimes bright enough to blind their foes. In game terms, a Philidar is similar to a unicorn with changes that reflect its feline nature, and it has its own stat block. Now we get onto the Sphinxes and the Drakes. So we're starting off with what appears to be the more intelligent magical creatures, and then moving on to the slower, not so intelligent. Early inscrutable, Sphinxes are mysterious creatures known for their wisdom and knowledge. Closely aligned with blue mana, they are early devoted to gaining and possessing knowledge, but not to sharing or acting upon it. Sphinxes are content to search out the mysteries of Zendikar, then sit in quiet contemplation of what they have learned. To them, everything is an intellectual exercise, including the conversation. They are famously oblique, answering questions with questions and posing riddles to test the acuity of others. Sphinxes choose remote locations for their lairs, preferring sites of great natural beauty such as waterfalls, high promontories, and small islands. They jealously protect their lairs from other sphinxes and large predators, such as dragons, but they pay little attention to smaller visitors. A sphinx's lair is often difficult to reach and typically involves treacherous climbing for creatures without the ability to fly. A visitor who can reach the spot is often rewarded with an audience, but those who come in search of answers are likely to leave disappointed. Either Sphinx in the Monster Manual can represent the various Sphinxes of Zendikar. And then we get the Drakes. Drakes are superficially similar to dragons, with reptilian bodies and large leathery wings. They have only 2 legs though, which is one of the clear distinctions that sometimes annoys me in other media when they have dragons be those type of creatures. They are strongly associated with blue mana and the air and the sea, rather than the dragons, mountains, and fire. Many drakes are found in Akum. They are typically live at higher altitudes and farther north than the dragons there. A Petrodon can represent a smaller drake, while a larger one is more like a giant eagle. Now we get into some of the interesting creatures. Here we have a very unique take on the Kraken as opposed to the one that's in the Monster Manual. Lurking in the deepest reaches of Zendikar seas, Krakens are mysterious monsters of unpredictable wrath and terrible destruction. Though they take the form of rampaging brutes when they appear on the surface, the truth of their existence is more complex. Krakens embody the forces of will and drive for self-determination shared by all thinking beings. When their will is turned to destruction, they are capable of wreaking terrible havoc upon the ships at sea or coastal settlements. But they live most of their adult lives in isolation in the depths, focused on their own problem of the sea's mysteries. A kraken has roughly a humanoid shape with 2 strong arms and a broad chest. The head is encased in a rough shell that sprouts 2 large horns, and one of its hands is a bony claw. It has dozens of tentacles. Rambo, away from there. Over there. Get over there. No, you stop it. Stop it. Sorry about that, folks. My next neighbour has, I think, some grandchildren over, and My dog wants to play. What was I? Oh yes, in place of legs. On its back is a huge conch-like shell. Though the Monster Manual has its own version of the Kraken, the Zendikar's Krakens are actually more similar to storm giants. Now, this is one of those creatures that has its own stat block. So here's some more sea critters. The Surakar. The Surakar are a race of hulking amphibian humanoids native to Balagid. They have broad shoulders and long arms that drag on the ground when they walk. Their splayed feet and hands are webbed, and long tusks protrude from their large mouths. They have little culture and no written language, and some members of other races believe they are merely animals with no true language at all. And it's stated that in terms of stat blocks, they are more similar to humans. So no, similar to lizard folk. Next we have the Gamoza. Very interesting name. Zendikar's seas and skies tend to blur together, and the creatures typically found in the sea often find their way to the clouds. Ooh. Gliding through the plane's gravitational currents by consuming the mana infused in the wind, the wind rider eels hunted by the core, and the cloud mantas, sometimes ridden by the Emira Creed merfolk, are two examples. The Gamozoas found in Marissa and Malkanda Treches are another. Gamozas are similar to aquatic jellyfish, but their bodies are encased in stony growths. A Gamoza drifts motionless among the floating rocks or hadrons, with its long, sticky tentacles dangling below. When they brush against another creature, those tentacles grab and constrict it, or might slam larger prey against the cliff face. Some species can withdraw their tentacles into their bodies, extend them to grab their prey. Gamozas almost never release their prey once they've caught it. A Goza might be represented by a roper statistic. Except with the flying speed of 10 feet in place of walking and climbing speeds. Now there is a nice little side block for other sea creatures. Ocean bays and swamps of Zendikar are home to a variety of aquatic creatures that are at least as deadly as those on land, including the monstrosities that can face the largest eldries on almost equal footing. Given the dangers of Zendikar's even mundane animals such as the octopuses, frogs, turtles, and crabs, and crocodiles that can grow to tremendous size using the Probius stat blocks in the appendix the Monster Manual, the crabs of Onnud and the crocodiles of Groldraz, the tortoises of Tazim and the octopus of the deep sea, which the Lortos and the Tidemaker is but one giant specimen, are examples of these aquatic monstrosities. Enormous shoal serpents, sometimes compared to a reef that runs aground on ships, are a persistent danger to vessels along the Adoan coast. The Plesiosaurus in the Monster Manual can represent these serpents. So there's a lot more aquatic creatures and creatures on land that can deal with the players. And again, because the way the air current, the gravitational fields are with the blue mana, you can potentially. Oh, you want lots of attention today. You want lots of attention today, don't you? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Oh, yes. You can use a lot of them to attack people on land. And there's my dog being jealous. Alright, pop down. Do you want to get down? 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 There you go. Get down. Good dog. And now it's on my head, so she. There you go. Now we get into some interesting things such as demons. The dark reflections of angels, demons are the incarnation of black mana and all it represents. Selfish desire and lust for power, their forms are roughly humanoid but distorted and bestial. And they often have grotesque heads and feature elongated ears, spiky protrusions, and large horns. The size and number of demons' horns are an indication of its age and power. That's quite interesting. Spikes and horns protrude from their backs and arms and their hands, are warped into large, sharp claws. Most demons have large, leathery wings, and few have long tails. Their skin is okay. There's not much there except to talk about how the demons are pretty much evil and all that. And again, they recommend that you just use any demon, devil, or Yoggothot in the monster manual for any of the demons of Zendikar. So, which is pretty much so true. Like it's just ridiculous. Next, we have the venomous vermin. The black mana that brews and festers in Zendikar swamps. Notice also, folks, we seem to be going through the creatures by their mana. Like we went through the white mana creatures, we went through then the blue mana, and now we're in the black. So next is the red, and then I believe, yeah, then we're moving on to the green. And then we're moving on to different creatures that are not associated with particular colors. Okay. Now, there are many creatures, especially around Guldraz, that are home to many such creatures that are often venomous or just plain deadly, like rats, bats, and insects and scorpions and spiders that spread death and decay. Now, they often recommend that you use giant, for the heart stabber mosquitoes, you use surges, and to giant scorpions large enough to hold a struggling vampire in one claw. The gigantic ant-like castic crawlers, similar to ankegs, shape burrows from stone to their acidic saliva, creating strangely smooth walls, easily mistaken for ancient construction. The Gloomhunter bats are the size of griffins, have reservoirs of Vampirius mana in their heads, causing their bite to tear at the spirit as well as the flesh. And there's just so many creatures you can use. Like there's like the black mana infused in some of these creatures has created such horrendous creatures. Like Zendikar is truly a dangerous place. And then we get the Restless Dead, which is, like Zendikar is a large home to shadows and wraiths because of all the negative energy that is fueled with the area. Because like magic fueled by black mana can alter the natural cycle of life and death, which is why black mana is often associated with necromancy. And it's just so interesting. Like, and then here's this thing about nulls. The various forms of undead ghosts are the incorporeal remnants of life and personality left after the death of a mortal body. But sometimes the reverse is true. A body retains its animations and hunger while losing any trace of its soul, becoming a zombie. When a vampire who is not a blood chief drains the blood from a living humanoid, that creature undergoes a horrible transformation, becoming a stronger, faster version of a zombie called a null. Null's heads are featureless except for a gaping mouth filled with jagged teeth. Their bodies are shriveled and distorted, but perpetually strong. They are mindlessly loyal servants to the vampire nobility, and the number of nulls under a vampire's control is a mark of status and power among the vampire's houses of Guldraz. So there you go. And now we're on to the red mana, which pretty much is dragons. They're the ultimate personification of chaos and the recklessness and ferocity, which is often associated, and independence, which is often associated with red mana. And because that they are particular, like Zendikar in mountainous regions where red mana is plentiful, is particularly in Akum, they are never in great numbers. So the dragons are often, like, again, the land, that's how magic is fueled in D&D, in Magic the Gathering. Whereas in D&D it comes from the Reeve, from Magic the Gathering it's all from the plane itself, the land. Like each plane has its own source of magic, and it's generated from the land. Mountains are where you can, if you go to a mountainous region, you can slowly draw in the red mana, which is why dragons are often associated there. Now, but here's the thing though: dragons in Magic the Gathering are not the same as they are in traditional D&D. They're not as intelligent. Now, there are a few very highly intelligent dragons in Magic the Gathering. Some of them actually have become planeswalkers, but in terms of Zendikar, the dragons are not intelligent, and it's suggested that you use the young red dragon monster manual can represent the dragons of Zendikar, but you have to change its intelligence to 8. This change has no effect on its other statistics, however. It's just to represent that the dragons are more... How should I put it? It's not more... They're not the same, and they don't covet gold. Now, there are also several different types of humans. There's giant creatures. There's general giants. They're the Hurdas. And then there's ogres, and then there's minotaurs. They tend to live. The giants in Zendikar tend to live in tight-knit family groups, like tribes, and they try and be as far as possible from settlements of other tribes. Now, they're often compared to ogres and minotaurs, but they are civilized and intelligent, though they are wilder than the smaller species. There are 3 major groupings of giants that occupy Zendikar continents. In the mountains of Akum, the giants of the Boulderfoot tribes have a well-earned reputation for trampling their enemies underfoot, hence their name. And then in the Skyfan Mountains on Marusa, the giants of the Shatterskull are rough brigands who often extort tolls from travelers trying to navigate the treacherous paths that share the tribe's name. The Boulderfoot and the Shatterskull are stone giants, basically. Now, in Odu, the giants in the Turtenborg tribe live in the forest of the same name, and they hunt bearlots and other large game, living in close harmony with the woodland. The druids are the only giants of Zendikar that are inclined towards magic. Some legends hold that these giants are unrelated to other tribes and were originally druids who became giants only after years of living among the twisted trees elsewhere on Ondu. The Malekith trenches, a handful of deformed giants called trench giants scale the canyon walls looking for prey. They are solitary and do not think of themselves as a member of a tribe. In fact, they are outcasts of the Turn Timber tribe, banished because the mana of the forest warped their bodies and their hearts. The giants of the Turn Timber tribe are similar to cloud giants, and then the trench giants are considered to be more close to Fomorians, and then they're the stop blocks to use. Now, here's a very unique creature called Hurdas. They are huge semi-humanoid creatures. Though to be distantly related to giants, they are primarily employed as heavy labor, hauling stone, shifting earth, and drawing huge carts from the Gorma Fada caravan, for example. They are essentially beasts of burden. No more intelligent than a Balot or a Terestodon, but significantly more pliable Marusa Hurdas are more aggressive than their calmer Adumkin, serving as protection for caravans instead of drawing its carts. Hurdas are bipedal, but they walk on their hugely developed arms, while their tiny vestigial legs dangle beneath them. Their thick tails help them keep balance. Their massive bulk allows them to carry tremendous loads in addition to pulling carts and wagons behind them. Use the Hill Giant stat block for them, and you replace the Great Club attack with an unarmed smash attack. Now, there is an image, and I get the strong connection that these guys are based on like a reverse T-Rex, where instead of having a really powerful head and hind legs, they decide to do just completely over the top forearms, and then their hind legs are their little thing. It actually looks like a T-Rex, except the arms are its head is sort of lunging forward to help it go forward, as its hands are basically throwing itself forward. So it's like it grabs hold of the ground and it throws itself forward constantly. Breaststroke, it's like the swimming thing, you just go like that, except they hurl their body forward as well. Catch, hurl forward, catch, hurl forward, catch, and then they use their tail to keep balance. They must be particularly their shoulder must be well developed for the quick rotation, so they can keep catching themselves before they hit the ground. Now, right. Ogres seem to be slightly different as well. They're still pretty much brutes, driven by cruelty, greed, and savage ferocity. They favour the jagged mountains of Akum, but they can be found on every continent. Their size and strength help protect them from the dangers of Zendikar, so they have little need of walls and roofs, which is good since they have little skill at building. Ogre society, such as it is, revolves around leaders who gather small gangs, usually 6 to 10 other ogres, to join them pillaging, extorting, or slaving. So, they're far more intelligent than normal ogres in terms of D&D. Like, where in D&D, the ogres are dumb and they often hire themselves out by much smarter people. These guys seem to be in it for themselves, and they work by themselves. To the point where they even have magic. Now, obviously they're going to use red mana because it works so well for them. And they tend to be very angry and ferocious tendencies, which is sometimes organized into red mana. But the thing is, though, they are intelligent enough, and you're to use the stat block only. And so the clear fact that these ogres can use magic shows off that their intelligence is vastly different than that of the ones from D&D. Minotaurs are also different. Now, they are capable, but they are also... Minotaurs are often savage and cruel, but they are also capable of fighting with discipline, cooperating with other members of other races against a common foe, and carefully following orders. If the pay is good enough, the Minotaurs are strongly associated with red mana. Their fierce tempers, passionate emotions, and lust for battle align with the characteristics of red mana, and their shamans, though they are rare, favour the mountain magic of earth and stone. They are often reckless and unpredictable, throwing their opponents off balance and then pressing the advantage. So these, now obviously in D&D, if you read Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, you discover that Minotaurs are actually created by a demon, whereas these guys are just natural. Now we're on to I believe the green mana, which include many different creatures such as hydras, worms, and hylions. Now, for the most part, these creatures operate in pretty much the same way, but some of them you need to have be very clever. Now, sadly, for a lot of these green creatures, we have not gotten a stat block for any new creatures since the Kraken. But then again, a lot of these creatures do have, traditional D&D creatures you can supplement. The Hydra, I believe a Hydra in D&D is more of a snake-like thing, and it's more associated with coastal or the sea. But here, they're more associated with being on land, and they have 4 legs. Now, I may be wrong, but they're sometimes often found in Tazim's vast wood, and they only have 5 heads, but the largest Hydra on there have 8. A Hydra's heads come together on long, thin necks, connected to a 4-legged body with wide shoulders and narrow hips. Frilled crests adorn its heads and upper necks and run down the creature's long tail. For all their great bulk, the Hydras can move quickly with the unsurprisingly with surprisingly agility through the forest home. And it says use the Hydra stat block. So in Magic the Gathering, this Hydra does not exactly regrow heads, or it will never exceed 5. Whereas then the largest ones generally get up to 8. Now, the worms of Zendikar are gigantic creatures with features akin to both snake and insect. The worm's serpentine body is covered in heavy bands of scales, giving the segmented appearance. Its misshapen head is crowned with large 8 eyes, elite with at least 8 eyes, and is dominated by a ring of 4 or 5 enormous hook-like fangs surrounding its mouth. This creature's jaws extend into a tube like a tube out of its mouth when it's ready to feed, accompanied by horrendous carrion stench and a nauseating squelching sound. And it says use the purple worm stat block for it. Now, similar to worms, Hylians are enormous serpent-like creatures that dwell in the lava deep beneath the beneath the surface of Akum. When the eruption brings lava to the surface, Hylians occasionally emerge as well, trusting into what seems to them like a freezing air. The Hylians begin to rampage of devastation, resembling an extension of the lava flow. Hylian bears a certain resemblance to both a millipede and a crustacean. Small legs tucked close to the body help propel it through its tunnels. 6 long jointed limbs protrude from its head, allowing it to drag prey into its mouth. Its body exudes infernal heat, and its movements shake the earth like a tremor. And you have to use the Remo has statistics in the monster mana for it. We still have plenty of creatures such like the Gnarlids, the Basilisks, Bailots, and Trolls. As well as then we have the elementals to discuss. Then there's artificial creations, and then we have finally the Elrizi. Now, the Trolls of Zendikar are rare, reclusive, giant-like creatures that live in the remote forests and marshes. Hold on, no check time. Yeah, I got enough time. Hey, enough that. Come on, inside. Rambo, come on. No? Come on. Sorry about that, folks. The dogs are being tormented by birds. Okay. Savage and ill-tempered, they are made particularly dangerous by their regenerative abilities, which is pretty much, yeah, they are very much similar to that of the trolls of the Monster Manual, which is not too surprising considering they both have regenerative abilities. And technically, there's a lot of new trolls, so playing a Zendikar game with trolls being in the mix is quite interesting now thanks to Modern Times. Now, the green mana is the magic of... Okay, now we're going into the green mana. So technically we were in all red mana until now. Green mana is the magic of its natural growth and hunt... hold on. Now? No. And hunting prowess. So it is the color of most commonly associated with the wide variety of natural animals that inhabit Zendikar's wilds. Many of these animals have some rudimentary ability to draw on the nana of the forest, while others are simply infused with it and have grown to incredibly large size because of it. Now, see, this is also plays into the fact that green mana cards in the game are often... It takes a while to build up your creature count, but the thing is, green mana generally is high cost for high reward. Like they have some of the toughest creatures out there. Like you play a 6 green mana creature, chances are it's going to have trample, and it's going to be like 6/6 or 5/6. You know, it's going to be big, and it's going to be hulking. So Great Mana generally relies on playing spells and whatnot, while slowly building up your mana to get these bigger creatures. Now, Bailots are perhaps the most distinctive of Zendikar beasts. They are muscular, carnivorous hunters covered in horns and spines, and plates of various shapes. The wood crusher Bailots of the Turntimber Forest are surprisingly agile, leaping from tree to tree, using their great claws to clutch each spiraling trunk. The leatherback Bailots of the Aura Under are heavier and keep to the ground, where their thick-plated hide protects them from danger. Bailoth herds occasionally stampede across the Odinesian Anduin plains, and do so more frequently since the rise of the Eldrazi. As if sharing in Zendikar's anger, use the Triceratops statistics for the Bailoth, but the Wood Crusher Bailots have a climbing speed of 30 feet into the addition of their normal walking speed. So yeah, imagine a Triceratops that could climb and now swing from tree to tree. That's scary, you know? And then we have the Basilisks. These are six-legged lizard-like reptiles with large horns and long tails. The creature that meets its gaze of a basilisk will turn instantly to the stone, and they are common in the wooded regions of Guldraz, as well as the Turntimber Forest of Undu. Use the basilisk statistic. And then here we have the Gnarlids. Gnarlids are about the size of a large dog, and they resemble a cross between a bear and a wolverine. They have horns and distinctive shapes that vary by species, and some varieties have similar spikes elsewhere on their bodies. And they have the innate ability to grow larger by drawing on the green mana in the environment, nearly doubling its size as well as ferocity. In this enlarged state, the Gnarlid can be represented by a brown bear statistic. If by some magic reduces its size, cut both its hit point maximum and its attack damage in half. So yeah, that's really cool. And then there's actually now we have some really cool creatures. The Oxen, which suggests the giant goat statistic, or Marus's Pillar Plains, are renowned for their stubbornness, but they are still used as a pack animals thanks to their tremendous strength. A Terrestodon is an enormous elephant, and it suggests using the mammoth stat block, with 4 tusks and armored hide. So yeah, that's really cool. A bony plate on its head, sharp and pointed on the edges, extends back to protect its neck. The Terror Stompers are 6-legged behemoths that can grow as large as the trees in the vast wood tourism, and it suggests using the Tyrannosaurus Rex stat block for them. Where's my favorite creature? Okay, wait, hold on. I think this is them. The Timber Maws dwell in the hollow trunks of strange floating trees, emerging with deadly speed when prey wanders near. The grit statistics can represent a Timber Maw, adjusting its stone camouflage trait to hide in the woodlands. And at least 2 varieties of great cat, similar to the saber-toothed tiger, sport enormous blades jutting back from their forelegs, which help them cut through heavy undergrowth and take down much larger prey. Oh. And now we're on to the elementals, folks. That was all the natural creatures. Now, the elementals are physical representations of the primal natural forces that make up the plane of Zendikar. Some are living creatures infused with elemental energy, maintaining natural life cycles of birth and death. Others are animate plants and embody the vital forces of growth. Still, others are pieces of the plane, plateaus, islands, or expanses of water that have awakened to fight the Eldrazi. The longer the Eldrazi rampage across Zendikar, the more active and violent these elementals are going to become. So the plane itself is trying to fight back this Eldrazi invasion. So there are multiple different ones, and like it says, you can use any elementals. You can use fiery beasts that can represent as the hellhounds, the margins, fire elementals, magmeths, and salamanders. Animate plants could be trents, bolides, shambling mounds, and awakened trees and awakened shrubs. So there's actually, hold on. So the elementals in Zendikar have, it suggests you using so many different types of creatures to represent them, so they can come in all different shapes and sizes. So it makes fighting elementals very distinct. Now here's some interesting things. These things are called avatars. Avatars are rare beings similar to elementals. They're the aspects and projections of a larger abstract power, which might be anything from a looming shadow of death to the soul of Zendikar itself. These powerful beings can be represent some of the most powerful monsters in the monster manual. A Demilich perhaps, or an Ephemer, or even a Tarrasque. Next we have our official creatures. With the power of magic at their disposal, mages of the ancient past and the Zendikar present have been able to create objects bearing the semblance of light, capable of carrying out orders and even acting independently. A number of ancient sites all across the plane with the Eldrazi stone creatures have been found standing eternal guard, created from the fragments of the Hydrons or carved into the resembling them. These constructs were intended to help the people of Zendikar eliminate the Brood's lineages. After the Titans were imprisoned and they were implanted with the fragments of the power of that bound the imprisoned Eldrazi, they have served as useful allies in battling the Eldrazi Broods. And some mages have had limited success in prying the secrets of their magic from their artificial minds. Other Hedron constructs are of more recent make. So basically, these are basically things that were created to act either as the prison wardens of the Eldrazi, or they were created to combat the Eldrazi. And it suggests that you can use the Modron or the stone golems to be basically these. And it's suggested, and again, it's generally what they're designed for. They're designed to fight the Eldrazi. Now we're on the Eldrazi itself. Now this section, I've been sort of paraphrasing a lot of the stuff in this PDF, especially in terms of the beasts. But because the Eldrazi are so distinct and so unique, I am actually going to read them in proper detail. Okay? The Eldrazi are a race of interplanar beings that once traveled from plane to plane through the ether. Hey! Stop it! Stop it! Okay. They fed on the mana and life energies of the planes, leaving lifeless hooks in their wake as they moved from one world to the next. Their origin is unknown and their nature is poorly understood, and if they have thoughts or goals beyond simply feeding, their minds are utterly inscrutable. Even their magic transcends the categories of spells and classifications of mana, recognizing no distinction between the mana of one land and that of another. 3 monstrous Eldrazi titans were bound on Zendikar in eons past: Ulmag, Kosik, and Imrakul. No one can say whether more titans might exist somewhere in the vast multiverse, but these 3 have power enough between them to threaten countless planes. In their true forms, these titans are huge alien leviathans made up of immaterial substance akin to the ether. The ancient planeswalkers forced them into the material forms in order to bind them on Zendikar. Now that these titans are free, their first priority is amassing enough energy to leave Zendikar and return to their astral form. Multitudes of lesser creatures, drone spawn, and more powerful servitors seem to emanate from the Titans when they are active, much as clouds of vapor emanate from boiling water. Each Titan has its own brood lineage, which shares certain common features. The people of Zendikar have named the various kinds of Lesser Eldrazi, and they appear in such multifarious variety that they are often difficult to fully categorize. Some speculate that the lineage of the Lesser Eldrazi are extensions of their Titan sires, extending the Titan's will and reach across the plane, and harvesting mana and life energy that is channeled back to the Titans. In effect, the great multitudes of Lesser Eldrazi are organs of the Titans serving sensory and digestive functions for these alien beings. Now, the Lesser Eldrazi come in bewildering variety of forms, from weak spawn to towering behemoths, nearly as large as the Titans. The brood lineages of the three Titans are markedly different from each other, and they have different effects on the land and its creatures they spread across Zendikar. The best way to represent the Eldrazi in D&D terms is to adapt a variety of monster statistics to reflect the diversity of these creatures. Almost any demon or apparition could represent the Eldrazi, and bizarre fungus monsters, oozes, and monstrosities can work as well. For example, the weakest Eldrazi spawn under Chandra and 1 might use statistics. Might use the statistics for the cockatrice, dretch, violet fungus, gasspore, myconid adult, rust monster, or troglodyte. More powerful drones, Chandra in 1.0-5, can be based on the Balgura, black pudding, carrion crawler, chull, ethercap, gibbering mouther, gorgon, grell, hook horror, nautic, Octok, Face Fighter, Red Slad, Umberhulk, and Zorn. The ranks of the true Eldrazi above Chandra and 5 can be represented by such creatures such as the Oblat, Beholder, Cloaker, Drider, Gistor, Hezo, Mind Flare, Spirit Naga, Blue Slad, Grey Slad, Death Slad, and Yokol. The Eldrazi Titans, Ulamog, Kazek, and Arakul, are unique beings akin to the Titans of D&D. The Amphibian, the Kraken, and the Rask. So you have to use those three in correlation. And now, you have to make some differences. All the Eldrazi have the following in common. Wait, is it them? Yeah, you have to make these following changes to all the creatures if you're using them as Eldrazi. Eldrazi are immune to psychic damage and charm conditions. Eldrazi of Ulamog's brood lineage have no eyes, and they are immune to the blind condition for up to 30 feet. Some drones act as extensions of the Eldrazi Titans. Hunger change the damage type of the monster's attacks to necrotic damage. The Eldrazi have a life-draining ability similar to that of the White, forcing the target to succeed on a Constitution saving throw, or have its hit point maximum reduced by an amount equal to the damage taken. This reduction lasts until the target finishes a long rest. If the target dies and is early consumed, by the Eldrazi, if this effect reduces its hit point maximum to 0. So yeah, they will slowly drain the life out of you. Some Eldrazi are responsible for the creation of new spawns, such as the Drum might have an ability akin to a Red Slad's claw attack, implementing an nascent spawn in the host body. Well, such a drone might have an ability akin to the Red Slad's claw attack. Oh, okay. So basically, for example, let's look at a troglodyte. A troglodyte may not have a claw attack, but they may have developed an extra arm from being spawned from a drone. Okay, I think that's what it's referring to. All right. A more powerful Eldrazi can consume spawn and use them as fuel for their own abilities. An Eldrazi destroys an Eldrazi spawn within 5 feet of it, and either regains 10 hit points or regains the use of a single ability as though it has finished a long rest. So yeah, folks, if you're running like now, the Eldrazi do come up again in another plane shift document, which means like, so it can be quite fun to run an entire campaign spanning the multitudes of the of this multiverse, and you can have the Eldrazi or Eldrazi as the ultimate antagonist of your players, spanning them the Eldrazi breaking out of their prison and then slowly trying to get around to other planes, and you can have the players try and intercept them and stop them, and trying to go to other planes to stop this infection from spreading even further. Like, it's quite interesting, and I'm loving this entire concept of doing something like this, and I really want to play a Magic the Gathering conversion. Though I promise I have no players at the moment to do such a thing. But this document and the fact that Ravnica is coming up makes me all the more excited. So yeah, folks, this is the end of the Zendikar discussion of the series. Tomorrow we're going to pick. Hold on, let me open up my folder. Okay, next up, let's go to Innistrad. My favorite setting, because it was the setting that had like decks devoted to necromancy. So that's where we're going to next, folks. Innistrad. A very interesting plane shift. Next, then we'll go to Kaladesh, then Amoket, and then Zillion, and then that will be it. We've gone through all the planes, and I'm definitely certain I'm going to split them up. Now, I believe Innistrad gave some tips on running players as planeswalkers, I believe. Let's see here. Okay, no, nothing there. Let's see, contents. Curse of... Oh, yeah. Funny enough, Innistrad also has another conversion where you take the Curse of Strahd quest campaign module and you turn it to be Curse of Innistrad. It's really fun, and I like the idea of it. So yeah, it's really cool. Let me see here. Yeah, okay, yeah. So basically, the coming of Abercool. Alright, so yeah, this does not really cover too much in terms of players. Hold on, is there any new things for players? So I'm trying to say about players here. Creatures of the night. Oh, here we go. There's a new background that we're going to be going into called the Inquisitor. And I'm going to kill my dogs. Okay, here's some classes overview, and it gives you some tips on playing certain classes, and yeah, it's actually just generally the people of Innistrad. So the biggest thing is that this setting gives you a whole bunch of different subhuman races to play as, and as well as it gives you a new background in the form of an Inquisitor. And then I believe it was Kaladesh gave you a lot of more information. Kaladesh I'm pretty sure was the next book, and that was Amoket. Let's see. Yeah, Kaladesh did give you a bunch of new races to play as, and it did give you it like the Innistrad one. It goes over playing the different classes, recommending what type of classes have what mana and the like. With the exception that the Kaladesh thing did I not cover playing. Hold on. I could have sworn the Kaladesh talked about making planeswalkers. No, it actually doesn't seem like it. It goes straight into playing the races. There's some new feats such as quicksmithing and servo crafting. Buying and selling devices, event manufacturing devices, ether powered devices. Oh yeah, they did give you a new sorcerer origin as well, the pyromancer. Inventions of magic. So that's talking about the classes, and this is that then talks about the backgrounds. And then there's the world setting. Okay. So Kaladesh gave us a lot. It did give us a lot of information, but I believe it was mostly Omiket that did talk about plane shifting. Where is it? The curse of the wandering, the facade, put on the devotion to the test. People don't initiate. Gods, just the characteristics. The vizier. Then there's the races. So folks, I just want to get into this. There's some new domains for clerics. There's the bestiary, as you can well expect, as per usual. And then here's the appendix, Planeswalkers and the Multiverse. Let's see, actually here it is. This is the fourth plane shift articles correspond to the release of the fourth volume of the Art of Magic. When no game rules are attached to being a planeswalker, traveling from one plane to the plane is sort of a campaign is like the overland travel in normal campaign is about getting to where the adventure is. If planeswalking is part of the campaign, then everyone in the party has the ability to do it, so they can travel together. In modern Magic, there's no way to bring another living person along with you when you planeswalk. This means there's not really any question of the game balance where planeswalking is concerned. It doesn't make one character more powerful than another. If it doesn't make characters any stronger against enemies, they're fine. So if something that can be added to any other character would change his character class or brace bracket. When characters planeswalk, they usually take quick flow and focus to bring two worlds together and create a bridge to cross between the devices. It's one cast under a ritual, so it's not generally suited to play rock. We could do escape combat. It is a more another point of playing rock and rise. In Magic fiction, characters do play rock in the level of combat. They usually when sun dies about to happen. Then the game from all the characters to shit which dropped to their hoods can make charisma same trophy so equals damage taken. So that without my way because this isn't usually okay. Sorry folks, I wanted to quickly get that through. But so yeah, we're actually going to touch on Omelket actually next, because I believe I should have done this. No, we're going to keep talking about the races and the other planes, and then at the end of the series, we're going to talk about making a planeswalker and what it takes to make a planeswalker work in D&D. Now, here are the planes that they have planned. Now, there are some planes that were added that they were not featured in. These are apparently ones that they plan to go through, and we actually do got the documents for them. We got Kaladesh, Innistrad, Zendikar, and Amoket. But we got one extra one in the form of Zillion. And we are getting Ravnica next in the form of a full-fledged document. The remaining planes that are mentioned, as I said, we did get one that was not on this list, so we may get more. There's Tyros, Chandelar, New Phraxia, and Domiria. So that is a lot of stuff that the DMs and players can use. And the fact is that Wizards are jumping in into this with a full-fledged book. So we might get the other planes will have full-fledged books, and who knows, we might get Rambo, over there. So yeah, we might end up getting re-releases of this PDF and others like it, so that we may have more information on the planes. Okay, that's not that is wrong. So we may get even more details on how, for example, Zendikar is, and we may get proper quests involving them, so we don't have to make it up as we go. Either way, I for one, I am certain I'm going to enjoy this. Once Ravnica comes out, I will be covering that, and I'm hoping that I can one day find some players to run a Magic the Gathering campaign where they're all planeswalkers and they're all traveling to all these different planes having great adventures. In the meantime, this is Wolf Ninja sign out. May the Force be with you, and remember, roll for